Hello folks, welcome to another tutorial in this dungeon mechanics tutorial series. Today we're going to take a look at how to make the enemy chase the player and when it reaches the player to start attacking. And also use different type of attack animations instead of having to use the generic one. If you like these type of content, please feel free to hit that like button and also to subscribe so you get notified when the next video gets released, and also this helps the channel grow. Let's get into the tutorial. We're going to use our blackboard to create the entire attack sequence where we make the enemy attack the player when it's reached a certain distance. Now, there's many different ways to set this up. And one thing that we're going to learn today is to use a service. Service is a type of a blueprint that actually runs along with your behavior tree, and it continuously checks a condition and then sets up an output based on that. When we make the service, this will make more sense. Let's go ahead and create the service. We're going to click on this new service and then select BT service blueprint base. And it's going to bring us to our Blackboard folder where we have all of our blackboards and our behavior tree. I'm going to right click and create a new folder and name this services, just to keep it nice and clean. And this service, we're going to name it check attack range. Now in here, we want to check every single frame if the enemy and the player are close to each other. If they are, then we want to tell the game that, or tell the behavior tree that, yes, let's go ahead and attack the player. And if they are further away, then we're going to tell behavior tree, no, they're further away. We need to have the enemy move closer. For that, we're going to use an event tick function. We have a receive tick and receive tick AI. The difference is the AI will actually give you the owner controller and the control pawn as an output, while the receive tick just only gives you an owner actor. That's about it. So we're going to go ahead with our receive tick AI, and we're going to right click and say get player character. We're going to drag off of this controlled pawn and say get distance 2. And this functions will check the distance between two actors, and it tells you what's the distance between those two actors. Now we have our player character. We're going to plug the player character into our other actor, and our control pawn is the target. We're going to drag off of this and then say less than. I want to make it so that the enemy is really close. So I'm going to make it 100. Now I'm going to create a branch and then plug this in. Off of true, we want to tell the behavior tree enemy can attack the player if it's really close, like it's less than 100 units. And off of false, we want to again tell the behavior tree that no, we cannot attack the player. To communicate with the behavior tree, we need to create a actual blackboard key. This is how we'll communicate to the behavior tree. So we're going to go ahead and select a new key and then set a new key type named bool. This would be, we're going to name it is in attack range and save. That's all we have to do here. Now, off of true, we're going to say set blackboard key as bool. This is the bool that we just set up. I'm going to copy and paste this twice because we want one for false and one for true. And off of true, we want to check off saying yes, the player is in attack range. And off of false, we want to say the player is no longer in attack range. Now we need to give it a key. So we're going to drag off of this key and say make blackboard key selector. We move this up. And then this blackboard key selector, I'm going to plug it in here as well because they're both the same key that we'll be using. And this key is what we just set up is in attack range. So I'm just going to copy this and then put into the selected key name. What this does is it's going to continuously check, because this is a tick, so it does it every single frame. It's going to continuously check how far is the enemy AI to the player character. When the enemy AI reaches less than 100 units from the player character, it's going to tell the behavior tree or the blackboard that, yes, we are within the attack range. If it is not, then it's going to go ahead and say, no, we're not within the attack range. And this is what we're going to be utilizing to tell the AI whether to attack or not. So back in our behavior tree, off of our sequence, we're going to right click on our sequence, and then there is an option for add service, and we're going to add a check attack range service. Now you can use a decorator, same thing, but I like to use services because I can continuously keep checking if the enemy AI is close or not. Services are good if you want to do a continuous check rather than having a one-shot check here and there. Now off of this, I want to do a selector. The reason why I want to do a selector is I don't want the sequence to run the move to anymore. I want the sequence to tell the selector to select between two different states, whether to go ahead and attack the player or move closer to the player. So for this, we need a new task to attack the player. So I'm going to go here to new task and create a new folder for this as well, so we can save all of our tasks in here. Inside of the task folder, I'm going to say BT task attack player. Attack player, at this time, we don't want to do any type of casting. We want to use our interface as much as possible to eliminate any type of excessive memory usage. So off of this override, I'm going to say receive execute AI. The reason why we are selecting the AI option other than instead of the receive execute is because we get the controlled pawn or the AI controller option right here. So off of this, I'm going to drag and make sure that you set finish execute to success, or else this task will continuously keep running, and in the behavior tree it will never go to move to because it will never fail. So you have to make sure that finish execute is set to success for now. Again, you can choose to make it success or fail based on the game criteria, but for the purpose of this tutorial right now, we're going to check this as success and we're going to set it here. We're going to go back to our dungeon mechanics base folder, open up our interface. In this interface, we're going to add a new function and name this attack player. Now, in our BTT attack player task, off of our controlled pawn, we're going to call attack player and make sure it's a message because we need to make sure that it goes through the interface. And now connect this here. So now back in our behavior tree, off of our selector, we're going to go and search for attack player. That's our BTT task or BT task. Now, we also want to add a decorator onto this now. And decorator is kind of like a if functions. It's either it's a yes or no type of function. And every time the selector runs this attack task, it's going to check the decorator and it's going to be like, is the decorator true or false? And then based on that, it will run this task or it will move on to the next task stating that this task has failed. And that's what selector does, right? It goes from one task to another task. As soon as one fails, it will move on to the next one and next one, next one until something passes. So in our attack player, we're going to right click and then here there's an add decorator option, and our decorator is going to come directly from our blackboard. Select that blackboard and then we're going to select is in range when it's set. So if is in range is true, which is our service here where we set the value as true or false here, we're going to check if it is in range and if it is set. If it is set means it's true. If it is true, attack the player. If it is not true, move to target. But we need to make sure that the observer aborts on self so that if the player is no longer, if the blackboard value is no longer set, we want the AI to cancel this and set this as a fail and move over to the move to target so it can continue moving to the target actor, which is our character. Now that we have notified the game that if the enemy AI is within the range of the player, go ahead and attack it, we need to actually do the attack function on the enemy AI. And we are communicating that through the interface. So there's no casting or anything of sort. I'm going to go ahead and close this and then also close. And go back to my enemies folder where I have the base enemy. In our base enemy, I'm going to go to my class settings, implement an interface, and then implement our dungeon manager interface. Compile and save. In our interface option here, we're going to right click on this attack player and then call implement event. Off of this attack player, we just want the enemy to play a montage. Okay. So that's all we want the player to enemy to do. So the montage is basically an attack montage. If you have been following with the tutorial and you have downloaded Buff White, inside of the animations folder, you would actually notice Buff White actually has 6 different melee attack options that you can choose from. We're going to be using all 6 of them and then have the enemy randomly choose one of these 6 options and then go ahead and attack the player. For that, we need a variable. I'm going to create the variable called attack montage array. Make this of type montage and a montage object reference, and then also make this an array. Compile and save, and this will give you an option to add elements. So I'm going to go ahead and select 6 of them. So that's 6. And now if you were to drop down, nothing's going to show up because right now these are all just animation sequence. We need to make them into montage. So I'm going to select melee A, hold down shift, and then select up to melee 6, right click on it, create create an anim montage. I'll create animation montage for all of them. Now, because it's a little messy here, I'm going to go ahead and quickly create a new folder, add new folder, name it montage, and then select all of this anim montage and drag it and drop it into this move here into the folder. Now all of my 6 montage are here. Now if I go back to the enemy base and if I drop down, I have the montage. So I'm going to go ahead and select all the montage one by one in here. What this will do is it will create an array of all of these 6 montages. We're going to tell the game to tell the AI to randomly select one and then use it in our play montage. So we're going to go ahead and say get montage, drag off of this and say random array item, and this will randomly pick one from the 6 and then connect this in the montage to play. And also we want to drag our mesh into the in mesh skeletal component or in skeletal mesh component. We're just going to connect that mesh in here as well. Actually, there's 2 issues that this is going to create. Let's go into the game and let me show you what happens. First, when I press H, when the enemy spawns in, enemy is moving towards me, but nothing really happening. The enemy is not playing the montage. Although this is being called, the enemy is not playing the montage. That's because in your actual enemy's animation blueprint, in our anim graph, we have actually set our blend space directly to our outpost. And if you open up the animation montage, you'll notice that this montage is actually running on the default slot. In the default group, the default slot. And we haven't really set up a default slot in our animation BP, and that's why it's not allowing us to run any of the montages. So first thing we're going to do is right click over here and then search for slot and default. So you can see there's a slot called default slot. We're going to go ahead and take our blend space connected to our source and then get our output of the default slot into our output pose. Now if I compile and play the game, you will notice that when the enemy comes close, it's going to go ahead and twitch. It's trying to play the attack, but because this actual function, we're calling it every single second because this is an actual tick. So this is on a tick that is making it true or false. And based on this, our attack player function is constantly firing this attack player every second. So to remedy this, we're going to create a Boolean and then we're going to check if the Boolean is true or false. And then based on that, we're going to do the montage. So we're going to name this is attacking question mark and make this of a type Boolean and make this a single type. And when the attack player is called, we want to check to see if the enemy is attacking. So we're going to create a branch here and connect this is attacking and check if the enemy is attacking. If the enemy is attacking, we don't want to do anything. But if enemy is not attacking, then we want to go ahead and play the montage. But before that, we want to then set the attacking as true, saying, telling the game that yes, the enemy is now currently attacking. And then off of completed, we're going to go ahead and set attacking. And I'm going to do a quick delay. This way it has enough time to go ahead and finish all the cleanup that it needs to do after the montage is played. And it's going to go ahead and set the attacking to false. That means it has completed the attack function. So now we can go ahead and then play. And this should look something like this. It reaches the player, it attacks, stops for that 0.2, attacks, and so on and so forth. Now, if I move away, it'll stop attacking, and it will continue chasing. Now, if I stop, it will attack. And you see that it's not doing the same animation. It's doing different animation at times. It's switching it up. And this is exactly what we want. And if I bring in more enemies into the game, you'll notice that all 3 of them are going to be using completely different animations to go ahead and attack the player. That's it for the tutorial today, folks. Thank you very much for joining this far. In the next tutorial series, we're going to take a look at how we're going to do the damage event. Through the damage event functions, we're going to take a look at how to damage the player when the enemy comes in contact with the player with their actual melee. So, folks, if you really like this type of videos, please hit that like button. This tells me that you do like these type of contents and I can continue creating more. And also, if you have any questions or concerns, please post them in the comments below. And if you would like to be notified when the next video gets released, please hit that subscribe button and then you will be notified. Until then, have a good day. Thank you, Merle Peterson, for joining the Patreon and supporting this channel to grow.